One of the featured speakers at the MFG meeting was Hunter Lott. He's an expert on human resource regulations and compliance. Let's hear what he has to say about this important topic.
Hi, it's Pat McGibbon, and I'm here at the MFG conference in Phoenix, Arizona with Hunter Lott, our expert on human relations issues and labor. Hunter, you've just come through a nice 3-hour stint of information sharing with some of our members across the 4 associations. And I heard you say as you were leaving the last one, you got some interesting questions. What was the most interesting question you think you got?
Most of the questions tied to compliance issues. Naturally, people don't like human resources. So they were, well, what's going to get me in trouble? What do I need to watch out for? And the big one is, at this point, wage and hour, exempt versus non-exempt, paying people overtime, those kind of issues.
Nothing new, but something that people just kind of choose overlook.
Somebody said, when did this change? I told them 1938. So it's just now, because of access to information, people need to know what's at stake.
With the new administration, I mean, we were talking about healthcare not being firm enough to really talk about yet, but is there anything else that's come through in the last 2 years that you would want to point to small manufacturers?
No, just in terms of don't feel like you're being held hostage by bad employees. That even as we go through political gyrations and all the regulations, that the numbers still show very much on our side. We owe it to good people to deal with some of the problem people and to not feel like we're being held hostage by bad employees.
It's what you call the fear factor?
Yep.
I've heard you give that to a little speech before.
Well, just in sheer numbers, you know, at EEOC, federal government, the odds are like 8 in 10,000 a charge being filed, and over 60% of the stuff is dropped. So I'm selective. I don't do crazy things, but I also don't need to be blaming the law. The responsibility is mine.
And some of the basic things they can do to protect themselves?
Documentation is, of course, a big one in terms of the outsider looking at us. Prove you gave them a reasonable chance to save their job. Prove you didn't discriminate. Burden of proof's on us. Just keeping that in mind. Also, the 60 minutes rule. If they'll just think like 60 Minutes does, would you want to go on 60 Minutes and defend your actions? If they're under 30, think YouTube. If you wouldn't want to defend your actions on YouTube, then maybe this is something I better not do.
But the kind of actions you're talking about are not expensive things you can do. It's not like they have to go out and hire a $800 an hour lawyer to protect them for these kind of issues. No,
the attorneys certainly have their place. If you get involved in something legal, you know someone's litigious, then I'm going to involve my attorney. But most of this you kind of look at, though it's not a manager's common sense. HR people think, okay, before you do this, how's this going to play? You know, there's a big difference between no alcohol at the holiday party and the jug-a-lug contest. And that's how HR people think.
Yeah, that's a good example. Although we got rid of that ages ago.
I'm sure.
I promise. Excuse me. So as we go into the 2011 and looking at 2012, I know there's some legislation that's on the table, hasn't got passed. Anything there that particularly worries you?
No, there's nothing really there that's on the table that looks like a panic. I think the big issue over the next year or two is going to be that decision on healthcare. Some of the courts have said it's unconstitutional, some constitutional. If you're under 50, you're exempt. That 50 to 200 employee range, you'll have some hard decisions to make over the next couple of years. I think it's going to the Supreme Court. We'll see what happens. But that's probably the biggest issue, big picture issue that's still on the table.
And really nothing you can do to position yourself for it until you know how it's going to come
No,
out.
just start to educate yourself as best you can. You'll have some decisions. Work with your health insurance carriers. They'll help you kind of through it. But they don't know how it's going to turn out either.
Any place on the internet you'd suggest they take a peek to keep up with what's going on?
You can look at some of the HR sites, your people, Society of Human Resources, shrm.org. On the wage and hour side, just Google "We Can Help." You may not like the attitude that's kind of in your face as far as an employer goes, but it's got great information. You don't even have to read. It's all in video. But you'll understand then how the outsider's looking at us.
Wow. Well, we appreciate you being here this afternoon. I'm sure it's really tough with the weather we have here to deal with the conference.
It is tough duty.
But you know, we were saying before, I'd like to kind of finish this up with one of your famous stories. How about the Spanking Employee?
People remembered the different stories. We had a boss that when you didn't sell, you got spanked. He split his sales team into two, and the winning sales team got to hose down the losing team, dress them in diapers, and spank them with rival companies' yard signs. There was all kinds of convoluted things. He's gone out of business, different reports, so we don't know really what's clear. But this last October, one court came down and said, okay, time to pay up. And he had insurance protection, and they said, write her out a check for $1.4 million.
Did the judge have any humor about it?
Apparently not.
So there was no spanking in return?
No, there was none,
geez.
Pat. Thank you.
No, well, thanks, Hunter. And this is Pat McGibbon and Hunter Lott from the MFG conference in Phoenix, Arizona.
How does American manufacturing move forward in the next decade? We believe that collaboration and innovation are the keys. How do we achieve this vision? By developing a clear path that we call the manufacturing mandate. Hi, I'm Doug Woods, president of AMT, the Association for Manufacturing Technology, and we're calling for a federal policy of collaboration between government, industry, and academia. This federal policy would incentivize innovation in R&D in new products and manufacturing technologies. It would assure the availability of capital, increase our global competitiveness while minimizing structural cost burdens, enhancing collaboration, and training a better educated smart force. The United States currently lags behind our trading partners in the fields we should be dominating in. That's because we operate in a business and regulatory environment that thwarts our progress. If we don't redirect our government policy and resources to focus on innovation and R&D, there will be more missed opportunities for American technological leadership, and our citizens will ultimately suffer. It is possible for government, industry, and our academic communities to work together, utilizing an infrastructure that's already in place to revitalize our manufacturing sector and promote real economic growth. And we're poised to work with them to develop and implement a national manufacturing strategy, what we call the manufacturing mandate, that will reestablish the United States as a worldwide leader in next-generation manufacturing technologies. AMT is urging Congress and the administration to implement policies consistent with the manufacturing mandate and to develop a coherent national manufacturing strategy to help rebuild and strengthen this country's manufacturing sector. Thank you.